Right, so for the observant amongst you, you'll be probably wondering, like, I'm wearing a different same outfit, not a different one. It's because I recorded this video back to back with the other one. I do actually own more than one set of clothes. Honest, like even with work from home, I do honestly own more clothes. Right. So in this session, what we're going to quickly run through is the concept of selection. Now, you saw previously we did something like this. I had one node selected, and I said the node equals nuke.selectedNode, and I made exactly the same typo. Yeah, so we ran it and we had a reference to the node. We won't be getting into what this actually means. This is just purely about selection options you have. All right, so selected node. Now there is a question, obviously it's in your head, what happens if I did this? What is the node? So I'll run the same code. You'll note there are no errors up here. It seemed to be happy. All right, but let's just ask the node, similar to how we asked it, can you change the value of this knob with this code, the node knob postage stamp. All right, so we use that to ask it, hey node, can you do something with the postage stamp? We can do this call as well. We can ask it what name it is. What's your name? We can print it out as well. So, dear node, what's your name? Color wheel 2. Okay. So we had our bunch selected. I guess the question that hopefully is bubbling in your head right now is, wait, hold on. Which is the node? So let's do a quick test here. I'm going to use shift selection to grab these in a certain order. So I'm going to grab checkerboard first. Then I'm going to get color wheel 2. And then I'm going to get the grade and color wheel. Actually, no, I'm just going to do the 3. We're going to run the same code. And we're going to print the same thing. And it's responded that the node, not the nodes you've got, the node it's going to give you is grade 1. All right. And what this is actually an indication that I've selected a list of things. So color wheel, checkerboard, grade in that order. It's actually the last thing you touch. So in this case, we're going to make the checkerboard the last thing we touch. So I'm going to get the grade, the color wheel, and the grade, and we're going to ask it the same question. Notice I've got the 2 lines selected, so it's going to print out checkerboard 1. So you've got this guy. So nuke.selectedNode will deal with the last node you touched in your selection in this kind of area. All right. So if you do this, you can actually see checkerboard 1 is the last thing to glow. So we'll do it upwards. So grade, checkerboard, color wheel 1, color wheel 2. Run this guy. Color wheel 2, right? If we do it from top down, color wheel 2, 1, checkerboard 1, grade 1, it's gonna be the grade. Easy. So that's what nuke.selectedNode does when you give it a bunch of nodes. It's the last thing you touch. All right. So the other common, I guess there's 3 other ways I'm gonna demonstrate quickly. So let's get rid of that code. Oh, actually, we'll leave it there and just put it back. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to connect the grade to the checkerboard, right? Well, we'll use that in a second. So we can refer to nodes by selection. We can refer to nodes by name. So to do that is the node, nuke, go to the node that's called grade 1, right? So that should have given us this node. So we can look at the node and just trust me, it's grade 1. You can go muck around with this, but basically we can say deal with the selection. Note I had color wheel 1 selected. This doesn't care about the selection. This is just go to that node. All right. Then we have another form which we can let's put let's get into groups quickly. All right. So I've just put this in a group. Okay. So group 1 is a group. So we can use the same logic. We can say group. Sorry, I'm in Montreal. My brain thinks in half French right now. So the node is group 1. So it's this node. If you're ever unsure, remember we use postage stamp. You can sort of finagle that. Oops, knob, postage stamp, set value true. Oops. True. It's a very, very obvious thing you're changing, right? So obviously we have the right selection there. Now nodes have been shoved inside the group, so let's dive in quickly. All right, so there's color wheel 1 inside the group. Let's try this quickly. Nuke selected node and print the node name. Still group 1. This is a common annoying trap because the selected node is actually the selected node in your node graph here. I'm just going to close these guys. It's like nuke doesn't know intuitively, do you mean this selection because he's still glowing, he's selected, or do you mean this selection? We'll deal more with group selections later down the track, or how to manage groups later down the track. But just be aware, what you're seeing here, color wheel 1 is selected. So is group 1. So when you issue a request like this, it assume, unless you tell it otherwise, it's going to deal with the top level node graph. It will not dive into groups for you. But group management is a separate topic entirely. The last two things I'm just going to quickly cover is also ways to pick up this kind of relationship. So first thing is, we're going to say grade 1. We already know how to get to grade 1. We already know how to get to the node here, right? So that's it here. That's grade 1. We know that and we're pretty sure of it, but you know, we're just gonna true. Right? False. A lot of the time, if you're worried that you're not sure, a very common thing I tend to do or recommend actually with especially if you're trying to figure out stuff out, is a process I call fishing with dynamite. Essentially, do something really freaking obvious. If it happens, thumbs up. You know you actually did the thing you wanted. If it doesn't do what you think should have happened, you may actually be looking in the wrong spot. So the most common thing I do with the reason it's called fishing with dynamite is I deliberately make programs crash. If I put in a whole bunch of garbage and the program doesn't crash, I'm probably looking in the wrong spot. So yeah, literally light the stick of dynamite, chuck it in the pond. So hence the postage stamps are a really good one because it's a very obvious change. You can see it immediately. It's not subtle. All right. So now a selection is, you generally want to say the grades input. All right. So let's extend this thing quickly. So in the same vein as knobs, we can ask questions of the node. So the node, we can get the input, the 0th input. For a lot of the programming stuff, you start numbering at 0. So 0 is the first input, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's reasons for it, but just, yeah, we're strange. Sorry. Yeah, we're just strange. So the node input 0, right? So let's ask it what the name is. All right, and we might as well print this out. Checkerboard 1. Let's connect this to the color wheel. So the node's input, color wheel 2. So what we've got demonstrated here is probably your most common methods of node selection. So we've got DAG base selection. So you have a human who's clicking around and saying, this is the thing, right? This is great if you're dealing with people. Well, if you're dealing with people, you want to say, select the thing you want to select, run my code, and I'll do something to the thing you selected, right? The other selection method is toNode, which is, I don't care what you've got selected. I just want to go to the thing with the particular name. So you actually need a correct name here, but you'll see in certain scripts, things like this. People put down a NoOp, NoOp, and they'll do something like this. Do not touch important node, or something in very big capital letters. It's because you can't rename this thing. Like for example, like this, they assume that someone's going to plug in whatever the heck they want above this point. It could be anything. This could be a color wheel, this could be a checkerboard. But then they'll use this form here saying, go to the node called, what do you actually call it? All right, go to the node called do not touch important node, all right? And then get me that node's input 0 and then do something to it. So let's just generalize this quickly. Knob postage stamp set value to be false. All right, so between these two lines, we've basically got this identified as the thing, and we're going to turn off the postage stamp for everything that's connected to it. So let's just run that guy. Bam, postage stamp off, connect it, postage stamp off. So you can sort of get an idea of what this selection or targeting method will give you. Right? So yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea about how to reference or to find nodes in your node graph. The group is a special case, which we'll go into in a second. And there's a couple other things that you may have started tweaking on around this kind of stuff. For example, what about the mask input? Basically just that's input 1. So let's do that quickly. So where are we called it grade 1, and then we're not going to set, oh actually, yeah, let's just set the postage stamp on it. It's easy enough. So grade 1, we're going to set the input 0's postage stamp first. Yeah, NoOps don't have postage stamps. That's another thing we're going to get into with NoOps in a bit. So put color wheel here. So the grade 1, we've already run that. We don't need to rerun it. Input 0 is now going to have a postage stamp. That is this guy, which is your B stream on the grade. If we do input 1, the group has it, which is the mask. For a merge node, you've got 3. You've got A, B, mask. You've also potentially got even more A streams coming off the side. So I'll leave that to you as an exercise just to muck around and see what they're called. From memory, it's going to be, I think, 0, 1, 2, and anything extra is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to infinity with the merge node. But yeah, have a muck around with that one. But this sort of covers your primary methods of not quite navigating, of selecting things directly. There are obviously challenges with groups, and there's also things with dependencies and dependent, which we can get into if anyone's curious. There's also things about what do you do with expression linked nodes, because that is a line that connects two things. Short answer is yes, you can use them using dependencies with expression links. Clones are an interesting challenge with this, but you know, again, these are all things that you'll deal with in time. So yeah, hopefully that helps, and we should roll on with the next one shortly.